there, Dree Parks with Everyday Moodlings, and today we are going to do a big book of background. I'll get that out. If you've been on my blog before, then you know that I have a whole series called the Big Book of Backgrounds. And what it is basically backgrounds that I create that I then cut up for other projects. Because at this point I don't do a whole lot of art journaling, and what art journaling I do is in a smaller size. This feels really big to me. So I prefer to make these backgrounds and cut them out. So that was a tag. I use this one to make a card, ATCs, the whole 9 yards. I'll cut these out and use them for other things. So I felt like it was time to make a new one. And then this is a Dilutions art journal, and I just keep them in here until I'm looking to make something, and then I pull one out. Oftentimes I'll just do the entire background, but this time around I kind of wanted to focus on specific areas rather than doing the whole background, and sometimes I do it that way. It is a great way to pull out stamps that sometimes I don't use very often, and other products that maybe I just want to play with. So that's what I did today. I have a bunch of these stamps that I would call mixed media stamps, I guess, or background stamps. And sometimes I just don't get to use them as often as I would like to, so I thought I would pull those out and just play with them. I'm gonna be using, I'll stamp first, and I'll be using some StazOn ink. Some of these are really sticky into these CD cases. Hopefully I won't shatter a CD case when I'm trying to get it out. And then I'm going to use some spray ink. This is the Prima Color Bloom one. You can actually splatter with these bottles as well, although I will tell you some of my nozzles don't work all that great. I should get some replacements for that, I guess. But this one does, and it has some shimmer in it as well. Then I also wanted to add some paint. I should have pulled this out before I even got started, right? So now it's bugging me. I'm gonna get it out of here quick. Okay, so I got all my stamps out of their cases. Not sure which ones I'll use yet, but I did want to play with some stamps. I'm also going to do some paint splatters. I got this little distress tool for doing paint splatters. I want to see, you know, if that works or not. So I thought I would play with that with some blue. So we got silver and blue, kind of staying with cool colors. And then I thought about doing some accenting with smooch ink, which I really, really like. It's a fun product to work with if you've never used it before. So I have the orange, which actually works well with blue, even though this one's warm and this one's cool. They are complementary colors. Or I could use the lavender, which is a cool color, so it works well with the blue as well. So we'll see what I decide on. Beyond that, I might throw in some tissue tape or pattern paper pieces. We'll see. Or I might decide with just this, I might be done. So if you've never watched one of these videos before, generally I speed them up and add some music to it. I'll break in if I feel like I need to during the process, but I'm using StazOn ink just so I don't have to worry about the ink once I start adding other layers in. I don't have to worry about it running or anything like that, bleeding. And I don't really care if the stamps move from one piece to another. I'm going to be pretty random here. And if you haven't already protected your work surface, you're going to want to do it now. And I'm trying mostly for drips and splatters. Now, unlike other spray inks, Prima pretty much sets to a permanent, so you're not going to get it to run all that much. I would have to start it out running, and it's just not going to do that for me. So I got some nice drips and some nice sprays, but I'm not going to get it to drip. I'd have to use a different product for that. So let's dry it up a little bit before we add. This paint splatter tool was, I'm not quite sure that that was that awesome. I have paint everywhere, so it's gonna be a while where I probably pull that one back out again. And I feel like my pieces don't have quite as much color as I would like them to, and so I'm gonna go back with a little spray ink and try to get it to work down the page a little bit, or just get some good movement with it from using it with some water. And so I'm using Distressed obviously to try to get it to move a little bit. I added in some more Prima, but again, that's pretty permanent. It is permanent once it hits the page and dries, so it's hard to get much movement off of it. So let's see if we can get that with some. So at this point, I'm pretty done with what I want to do to these backgrounds. I would have to let it dry completely now if I kind of wanted to add in some tissue paper or pattern paper, but I think I'm going to let them be at this point. Just let them dry. I did get some good kind of flow from the Distressed ink, and even places that I don't have marked off, I would still use this, even this little piece there, and for accent pieces. Interesting colors and options there. So it was interesting to me how water reactive the paint was still after it was on here. So I figure, you know, it's paint. Once it's dry, it won't be all that reactive, but it did in some places. So, so there, I got some to pull out some of my stamps that I don't use very often and just play with them, reminding myself why I bought them in the first place, because they look really cool. So that was fun. Now I'm going to be using one of these ATCs next week on our challenge for next week, which I'm not going to tell you what that is, so you'll have to go to the blog and find out what we're going to be working on next week. But if you have any questions about anything I did here, please be sure to let me know. I'm always happy to help.